focus for everybody. My name is Roger Reilly, and we've lived in Iowa City for, gosh, 38 years now, and I'm going to call it claim to fame. My claim to fame was I worked for Hills Bank for 36 years, and it was a wonderful, wonderful experience, and retired at the end of 2019. And one of my duties there for the last several years was to be in charge of the supervisor of the Friends Club. And many of you have probably heard of the Friends Club. Hopefully many of you are members of the Friends Club. But it's a club for those 50 and better that bank with Hills Bank. And with that, there's some nice benefits. And one of them is and still is to some extent travel. And if there's any questions about that, we can cover that later. But because of COVID, the travel has been held back, and it's now directly with Star Destinations, and we can talk about Star Destinations later. But anyway, David asked me, and I think one of the people from Oak Knoll came to a presentation at Hills Bank that I gave to the Friends Club about the trip. And so it was a trip to United Arab Emirates. And so I'll ask the question, has anybody ever been to United Arab Emirates? Wow, that's good for me, because what I tell you, you won't know if it's right or wrong. So. Anyway, with that, the Friends Club went over there in February of 2019, and we had just 16 in the group. So it was a nice small group, and this was the group picture that we took with all 16 there. Kathy Gredeman was our leader, and she's the head of Star Destinations from Carroll, Iowa, and that's the group we use for our travel. And I was fortunate to be the Hills Bank rep. So just some background here. We departed O'Hare on February 10th at 8 o'clock in the evening. And many of you have probably traveled to Europe and beyond, so you usually start in the evening to travel and sleep on the way over. We got to Dubai, United Arab Emirates, February 11th at 7:20. So since they're 10 hours ahead of us, and it's a 13-and-a-half-hour trip, it took almost 24 hours out of our day. But it's 7,200 miles, and we're in this big stretch, Boeing 777, very comfortable. And so they said, what did you do for 13 and a half hours? Well, watched a lot of movies. The TV was okay. They fed us, I think, 5 times maybe, and we tried to sleep best we could. United Arab Emirates, talk a little bit about that. It's a relatively small country, and I have a couple maps to show you here, but just from the way it is, it's a small country located on the southeastern edge of the Arabian Peninsula. It's bordered by Oman to the east and Saudi Arabia to the south. Probably heard of Saudi Arabia. Oman is a country that not too many people know about, but it's a neighbor. And it's bordered, United Arab Emirates is bordered by the Persian Gulf, the Sea of Oman, and then has maritime or water borders with Iran to the north, and Qatar is how they pronounce it when we were there, to the west. So it's in the Middle East, and it's part of the Asia continent. So here's a couple maps. And so so you can see United Arab Emirates. We started in Dubai. We went down to excuse me. Whoops. There we go. And so went down to Abu Dhabi. This part over here, that's Saudi Arabia, and this is Oman over there, and up here is Iran. So there's a little bit better look where it is in the world, and yet another look, you can see where Saudi Arabia is, Persian Gulf, and here it's down here. So it's not a very large country in comparison to all the other countries around it. So background or how they're governed, there's 7 states. They call them emirates over there, but there's 7 states. And Abu Dhabi and Dubai, while they're states, they're also cities too. they're independent of each other and they have their own rules, which is quite interesting. And then they appoint a prime minister to run the country. Demographics, very interesting demographics. So 9.2 million population, and only 1.4 million are citizens. The rest are expatriates, primarily from India. But India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Philippines, many, many other countries that come in. And so they come in to work. There's 200 nationalities there. And just look at that male-female percentage. It's because they need workers over there, and so the males come in from the foreign countries, earn the money, send it back home, and so there's not too many females there. So median age rather young, 33 and a half, and then most of the people, 2/3, are aged 29 to 54, so a young population. It's 60% the size of Iowa, but 3 times the population. So a lot of people. So, and Dubai is not the capital. You might think it would be because of the population, but 3.3 million people there, and that's similar to the state of Iowa. But Abu Dhabi is the capital with 1.2 million. So with those 2 cities, that's what, 4.5 million. So that's half the population of United Arab Emirates. I don't have a map of this, but back in grade school, you remember you learned about the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn. They're on the Tropic of Cancer, and it's summer and winter there, and very warm. So the winters are 70s to 80 degrees, and we were there in February, so that was they're north of the equator, so it's just like us as far as summer and winter. So it was very nice when we were there in February, but very hot and sunny summers. They don't get much rain. It's only in the winter, 4 to 5 inches, and the summer temperatures are average over 100 degrees. So unless you're there to work, you don't visit in the summertime. And so the cool nights, so today it got a little bit higher than 54, but that's as cool as it gets over there, and that's at night. Religion is primarily Islam, though there is Christianity and other religions there as well. On the Islam side, it's very strict, and the punishments can be severe. And they warned us going in that we had to be very careful how we acted. Now, that being said, it was a group of seniors from Hills Bank. We're not going to go crazy, and we maybe stayed up till 10:30 at night. We didn't go out and party, but they kind of warn you, or not that they threaten you, but it's really not that bad as far as what you might do, but they're talking more to the younger people about how strict they can be. Employers in the United Arab Emirates, some of these you will know. The Emirates Group was if you remember, that's the airline that we flew over. So it's one of the largest airlines in the country, actually, or in the world. Unilever, you've heard of Unilever, and they make, I listed there what they make. And so they and General Electric, Nestle, you see Procter & Gamble down there. So those are the top employers in the Emirates. Back to Islam religion a little bit, and maybe you know some of this, and it was all new to me, but there's 5 pillars of Islam. And you can read the names. I'm not sure my pronunciation is the best, but that they believe in that there is no God except Allah, and that Muhammad is his prophet or messenger. And then the ritual prayer 5 times a day, the Islams pray. And this is very strict. If whatever they're doing, they stop, they turn toward Mecca, and they pray. And they have prayer rooms for, we stopped at it was a convenience store rest stop along the highway, and if people wanted to, they could go to a prayer room and pray, depending on the time of the day. Like many religions, they need a few dollars, so 2.5% of one's wealth goes to the poor and needy. And then the next one, Ramadan, you've heard that term before, maybe many of you know what it is, but it's 30 days of severe fasting, and we're right in the middle of Ramadan. It's April 13th this year to May 12th. So they're, I suppose you could say, celebrating or observing Ramadan at this time, but it's self-discipline, and we think Lent is bad. Ramadan is really tough, but it's only 30 days. It's not 6 weeks. And then most people that follow Islam religion take a pilgrimage to Mecca. And from Abu Dhabi, it's 1,100 miles, and it's southeast of Abu Dhabi, and you have to fly because it's across Saudi Arabia, and it's all desert. So I just thought that was very interesting about the pillars of Islam. The currency is called the dirham, and this is pegged to the dollar. It was in 1997, and it stayed there. You don't have fluctuations like the euro, where every day it's a little bit different. And in this case, it's a dollar equals 3.67 dirhams, or a dirham equals 27 cents. And that's what it is. And so you can hang your hat on that. And colorful currency, as you can see there, different currency. And it's, everyone has a falcon on it, because the falcon is a premier bird over in United Arab Emirates. A couple of moments in history there, tax-free spending way back when, but what really put United Arab Emirates on the map was discovering oil. So in 58 and 66, in the two different large communities, it was discovered. They then went to this form of government on their own in 71. And formerly they were under British control. The British gave up because they just couldn't handle it anymore. And then recently they did a value-added tax, a VAT, so anything you buy over there, they add an extra 5%. They don't have any income tax, individual income tax. Now the corporations and banks, they pay a tax for their earnings, but individuals don't. Here's a picture of the airport. It's one of the busiest, or the busiest international airports in the world, for that matter. And up in the right hand where the gentleman is, up there, they said no photographs. And I thought, well, I'm never going to be here again. So I took that photograph kind of best I could, because that was the first gentleman I saw dressed this way. But as time went on, most everybody, at least the nationals, were dressed that way. So here's where we went. We went to Dubai. We were in Dubai for 3 nights, flew into there, went to a town called Al Ain, then down to Abu Dhabi, the capital, for a couple nights. And then we were out in the desert for 2 nights, and I'll show you pictures of that. While it was a desert, it was kind of the nicest desert I've ever been to. And then back to Dubai. This is where we stayed the first couple nights in Dubai, the Hyatt Regency. And that's one nice thing about Hills Bank and Kathy Gredeman Star. When you go, it's usually, if it's not a 5-star, it's a 4-star place. And this was very nice. And this was the middle picture is a view out my window, and a lot of construction in Dubai, lots of construction going on. And then this marker was on the sill of the window, and it points to Mecca. So it shows people where they can pray to if it's one of the 5 times during the day. But there's a lot of these markers to show the direction of Mecca. There's the picture there. So then, what do we do there? Well, they want to make it feel authentic for us. So we had a luncheon with this gentleman, and we talked not only about food, but traditions and faith, culture. We did it their way. We sat on the floor when we ate, and the natives, interesting, they eat with their fingers. They gave us a fork, which was nice, but the food was quite good, and I took a picture of my plate. I took a lot of food. I just had to taste everything. And then the interesting thing is they don't call it Diet Coke over there, it's Coca-Cola Light. And it's not a 12-ounce can, you get about 9 ounces. But anyway, they had it, it was nice to have. And so this is a picture of, I think I went too fast. There we go. This is Marilyn Wirtz, who was a principal at Hoover Elementary for many years. She was on the trip. And then the other people in the middle picture, they had us take our shoes off, and we sat on a couple pillows high. And that's how we were around the food in the middle. And there you can see the food in the middle. And this gentleman, his name was Asim. Play on words here, but Asim was awesome. He was a great guy. And so we said, Asim, have you ever been to the United States? He says, oh yes, I've been to Orlando, Florida. I said, what'd you do in Orlando, Florida? He said, I went to Harley Davidson school there. So he was a mechanic. And we had a great conversation with him, and I probably should have gotten his address and kept in contact with him, but just a good man. And here he is. And here you can see him eating with his fingers. And down to the bottom, those are little, down there, those are little cups of water that you use to clean your hands. This was all pre-COVID, of course. We then went in a water taxi across Dubai Creek to their markets. They call them souks. And anything from soup to nuts, or at least spices to nuts, spices, nuts, gold, and a lot of gold. And here you can see a lot of the spices. And this is a couple street scenes. One's a street scene. The one in the middle is the actual souk, the market. This is just the gold market. That entire place on either side were stores. And you can see in the next slide, that was one of many stores. So I brought this back and I showed it to Willa Dickens, and I said, Willa, you got to up your game here, buddy. Willa, as you know, runs Herteen and Stocker with his sons, but that was just one of many gold stores in this souk. A couple other pictures, very extravagant, and that's one thing about United Arab Emirates. Everything is, I'm going to call it over the top. Everything is the best, the highest, the biggest, whatever the case may be. In fact, here's the world's largest gold diamond ring. And that's what it looks like. That's big. You could stand in the middle of that. I don't know how much it costs, or if it's who insured it for that matter. But we then went to the world's largest, tallest building, the Burj Khalifa. Burj is their word that means building, but 163 floors, 2,700. So what's that? 9 football fields high. They have a mosque there on the 158th floor. A lot of people worked on it. Takes 3 months to clean the windows. A lot of steel went into it, and it's named after the president, Sheikh Khalifa bin Zayed Al Nahyan. And so this is a picture of it from as you go up, they had a picture of it. So I took that picture, and this is a picture looking down. So that's water down below, the blue, and those are buildings, and those are pretty good high-rise buildings, but just look how small they looked from the 125th floor. And a beautiful view. And there's a couple more looks on the left. You can see they have some of the best highways in the world there. And then the middle picture again, you can see water down below. And then I took a picture from the bottom looking up. So you can see the immensity of the building. So the Burj Khalifa is right next to the Dubai Mall. And there are 65 malls in Dubai. And the Dubai Mall is one of the biggest ones. But it has an ice rink, a 2-story aquarium. We think Coral Ridge has a nice food court. They have 150 food outlets there. And it's just in the shadows of the Burj Khalifa, and you can see that here. The front part building, this is the actual mall right here, and that's the Burj Khalifa back there, and you can see it the same way here, the mall, and the Burj Khalifa behind it. And this has changed a little bit, but this is the Dubai Creek Tower, and this is supposed to, they started to build this for Expo 2020, and was to have been taller than the Burj Khalifa, but something's gone wrong. I don't know if it's because of financial problems or what over there, but they put a stop to this. And this was to, they want to have the tallest building in the world, and Saudi Arabia was building one, and I think they put that one on hold too. So the Burj Khalifa will continue to be the world's tallest building, and this Dubai Creek Tower has been put on hold. This was a rendition of what it looked like, or it was going to look like. So here's the Dubai Mall in the foreground with Burj Khalifa in the back. A lot of palm trees over there, as you might expect. I like cookies and candy, and so this was a bakery. We stopped, and they were frosting some cakes at the time. And also, they also have great stores there, and it's just like going to our mall, only much, much bigger, but they have the Gap. Gap was there. And the picture in the middle caught my eye. I'm a baseball fan, and they had a Los Angeles Dodgers warm-up suit. And I thought, wow, that's interesting, but it must sell because it was in the window. And we talked about the aquarium, two-story aquarium, just beautiful. Again, everything over the top, and very clean. It was so clean over there. We then went to the Dubai Miracle Garden, and this is a beautiful place that is only habitable, or they only have it during the winter, because these flowers die every year and they replant. And so you'll see these, but this is an interesting picture from the flower standpoint, but also the two ladies. Women wear black, men wear white. So who won that battle? If it's 100 degrees. But the women wear this over their clothes, actually. And the guys may change their white clothes 4 or 5 times a day. Because if you have a dirty cassock or whatever, I don't have the right word, but I use cassock, then you're looked down upon. So you have to be clean all the time. So a lot of change of clothes. Just some other pictures, but 50 million flowers, 250 million plants in the Dubai Gardens. And we walked through there. You could have walked for days, actually. It feels a little bit like Disney because some of the characters, and these are all flowers, it's kind of like the Rose Parade. Everything has to be in flowers. So these are all flowers or plants of the characters. And you can just see, although those are balloons in the foreground there, that they're just lots of beautiful colors in the Dubai Gardens. There's another picture of that. And then I wanted to get a close-up, so the colors are just beautiful. And they have a clock there and flowers around it. So we could have stayed there for longer than we did. But while we were there, we saw these young children, and they were on a field trip. And these appear to be, I think they were, we didn't really inquire, but what nationality they were. But I have another picture of another school, and they wear uniforms, and they were just very polite. They didn't, nobody was goofing around. They followed what the teacher said. So that was fun to see some school kids there. We then went on a boat ride around New Dubai, and New Dubai is even more, maybe not more famous, but newer than the other parts of Dubai. And you'll see some of the pictures here of the buildings. And they're just, I don't know who the architects are, but I think they try to outdo each other in a sense, because there's not two buildings alike. They're all a different look to them. Of course, at night, it's quite beautiful with all the lights on. Here's some other pictures. They have this, and that's the world's largest merry-go-round, or not merry-go-round, but what am I looking for? Ferris wheel, thank you. Yeah, Ferris wheel. And this is taken from the boat, looking up at the buildings as we went through, but one right after another. And they were building lots of new buildings. Marcia and Mel Jen, maybe you know them, they were on the trip. And that's the backdrop of New Dubai behind. We got out a ways, and so we took that picture. And this was just one of the yachts that was floating by at the time. So I urge you, if you're interested at all, to do a little research on your own about United Arab Emirates. It's just a wonderful place, and we felt so safe. Even though you had Saudi Arabia and Oman and Iran all around you, we felt very, very comfortable there. We went to another souk. This was a camel souk, camel market. And I'd maybe seen a camel or two, maybe at a fair or a circus or something like that. I saw more camels here than cigarettes, for that matter. But here's some pictures. And these guys, they're Bedouins, and they don't really follow the cleanliness law. They don't have the money to follow that. So their cassocks weren't as clean. Here's a picture with the guys in the background. We didn't really talk to them. We were told not to. Now, I don't know if they didn't understand English or not, but the languages over there are Arab and English. And TV stations are in either Arab or English. English is spoken in all the stores. So it's not like well, it's a foreign country. It really isn't a foreign country. Some more of the Bedouins there. And the camels. And kind of close up one of the camels. It's a one-hump camel. And then we went to the Jebel Hafit, which is a mountain overlooking the country of Oman. So that's about as close as we got to Oman. But the picture on the left, you're looking at Oman, the country of Oman there. And we went to this town of Al Ain. And this, again, beautiful place. We didn't stay there. We just had lunch here. But that's the elevator going up many stories. And again, from the top looking down. And this was the pool for the hotel. Looks pretty nice. It was a little chilly, so there weren't anybody in there at the time, but a pretty good layout. The town we were in was Al Ain, A-L-A-I-N. It was Valentine's Day. And in order to have alcohol, the establishment must be part of a hotel. So there's no standalone bars at all. So if you're going to drink, you go to the restaurant, and the restaurant is within the confines of the hotel. And so we thought it was very interesting. It was McGettigan's Irish Sports Bar. And it was on Valentine's Day, and one of the travelers had his birthday on Valentine's Day. So we had a little drink and cake and so on and so forth. Well, we were only there one night. So my job, one of my jobs on the trip, was to make sure everybody got to their room at night. Now, my wife Barb and I, she taught at Regina for many years, and we would go on trips with seniors in high school. It was much tougher with seniors in high school than it was seniors from the Friends Club. So when I said, it's time to go to bed, they said, okay. So they went to bed, and I said, this is a nice bar. I'm just going to see what it's like around here. So I stood behind the bar, and behind the people that were at the bar, and this lady turns around, she looks at me, and she says, are you from Iowa City? And I was dumbfounded. I said, what did you say? And she said, yeah, are you from Iowa City? I said, do I know you? And she gave me the line, well, maybe. So anyway, I said, how do you know I'm from Iowa City? And she said, well, you have your Hills Bank sweater on. So being a corporate guy, I said, how do you know Hills Bank over here? And she said, well, we moved over here. She said, I lived in Coralville. I said, where are you from? She said, I'm from Garner, Iowa, not Garber, Garner. And this is her name. It's Lisa Kuhlman. And she's married, native of Garner. And she was a Mercy RN in the surgery department. And I named a couple people I knew over there. Oh, yeah, I know her. Oh, yeah. And so they moved over there for the job. They needed people, and they paid probably 2 or 3 times more than they pay here. And they didn't have children, and they said, we're going. So they both work in the medical field over there, and that kind of made my night, actually, to be recognized in Al Ain, United Arab Emirates. So then we went down to Abu Dhabi, and we went to the Grand Mosque. It's the 3rd largest in the world, and it's beautiful, but they don't use it for worship. They use it for people on vacation to look at. So it took 11 years to build. It cost $545 million to build this mosque. And it was certainly beautiful. A lot of marble, just kind of over the top. Everything, the greenery was so beautiful. They watered all the time. There's a couple of pictures there, and there's a clock and with different times when they are to pray, though there are 6 clocks there, 6 times. They pray 5 times a day. And the ladies had to wear covering over their shoulders and head, but we did take a picture outside the mosque. And then it was back on the story about Lisa Kuhlman from Garner. That was a Thursday night. So their weekend is Friday, Saturday. So Friday, Saturday. So holy day is the Friday, and they don't work on Friday and Saturday. And so Sunday is just a normal day over there for the most part, at least for the Islams. So it was Sunday, and I said, boy, I'd love to go to church here. And I'm Catholic, and so I found a Catholic church 7 miles from where we were staying. And I thought, well, how do I get there? So I went down to the concierge and said, here's the deal. And they said, you'll be here at 6:30 in the morning, and we'll have a cab for you. So I got in the cab, told the guy where I wanted to go. He was from India. I think he understood the name of the church, and that was it. I said, oh, by the way, after I get there, how do I get back? 7 miles away. He said, well, you call me. So he gave me his card, and after Mass was over, and I'll show you some other pictures, I called, and my phone wasn't set up for international calling. So I'm thinking, what the heck am I going to do? 7 miles. I'm not walking 7 miles. And so I talked to some people, and a lot of people speak English there, as I mentioned. And they said, you just wait here. A cab will come eventually. And well, it was about 10 minutes, probably the longest 10 minutes of my life. I thought, how am I going to get back? But anyway, a cab came, told him where I wanted to go. He took me a different way than we came. I thought, is he taking me to the right spot? And it was a little quicker, actually. So when I was at this church, it was St. Joseph Cathedral and School in Abu Dhabi. So they had Sunday Mass at 7 o'clock, and it was an Indian priest, though he spoke English, and he had a sermon, everything just like at home, 30 minutes, boom, that was it. And so I took a picture after Mass and went outside and saw these kids coming off school buses. And so Sunday, normal day for most everybody over there, so that Sunday was a school day. And so you can see them walking in. They all had skirts. Boys had trousers that matched. And so it was just pretty neat to see school going on. But they were there. They either went to church or they came right after church. So it was 7:30, 7:45, and they're going into school. Talked about falcons. They have a falcon hospital in Abu Dhabi. It's the largest in the world, of course. The next largest is in Salt Lake City, Utah, but they see 11,000 falcons a year. And they examine them, they bring them back to health. We were fortunate to be able to hold a falcon, a little scary, but you put that leather glove on and they're trained. We then went out to the desert, and we had both sunrise and sunset in the desert, and we did get to ride camels. That was quite interesting. The camels get down on all fours, and you kind of get up best you can, and then they get up, and once they start getting up, you think, oh my goodness, you got to hang on, because they don't get up on four, they get up on two, and then the other two. Thought this was both pictures were quite interesting. The one on the bottom, I felt like it was We Three Kings of Orient are going along, but some beautiful pictures in the sand and desert, and I think probably 10 people from the group went on the camel ride, and the gentlemen there that helped us spoke English, and we just had a good time. Went on a dune ride. They have falconry in the desert. They make the best of it they can. And then sunset in the desert is very big. Probably no different, though not quite the same. You go down to Fort Myers Beach and you see the sunset. Here, you're out in the desert, you see the sunset. And this was one of my favorite pictures. And that's what you feel like in the desert. You don't see anything. It's all sand, all sand. And so these two gentlemen were walking, I think, down to the car, actually, that they came in for the dune ride. But interesting picture. And here's the group that went on the sand dune ride. They have some Land Rovers they use, and they take a lot of air out of the tires, so they can get around in the sand so they don't get stuck. But it's quite the ride, up and down and sideways, and they know what they're doing, and it's quite a thrill. And here's a picture of some coffee. They serve coffee at sunset, and just some pretty places. So then I mentioned staying 2 nights in the desert. This is I won't pronounce it, but you can see it there, a desert resort deep in the desert. It's probably, I don't know, 20 miles into the desert, so you're going from the highway on another road that it's paved, but you just see sand, 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 sand. All of a sudden, you come upon this oasis, call it the oasis, but it's a resort, and it was probably one of the nicest places I've ever stayed. And this is just a look outside my window. Unfortunately, my wife couldn't go on this trip. She was working at the time. But this is a look of a fountain, and this is one of the rooms or the place where we stayed. It was just wonderful. Another look of the pool. This was the pool of that place. So food was wonderful there, and the people were so nice to us. But again, you're in the middle of nowhere. But they have great turnouts. Occupancy was very high at that time. So we went to the Emirates Palace in Dubai, went back up to Dubai, and there's a picture of the sheikh. This is the ruler, and he is all over the country as far as pictures. And it's just a night scene at the Emirates Palace. And this is a little bit strange. That's the men's room at the palace. And the reason I'm wearing the same sweater tonight is that we had this dinner at Emirates Palace, and Kathy said, this is a little bit dressier, and I was wearing a lot of Hills Bank gear, and I thought, well, I'm going to branch out here. And so I went to the Abu Dhabi Mall, and I went to the H&M store and bought this sweater there. If you're familiar with H&M, they're worldwide, but they're opening a store in the Coral Ridge Mall here in the next month. So you get a taste of H&M. But it's not very expensive store at all. You'll like it. It's medium priced and quite a variety. So anyway, took that picture, had it taken there. This picture is outside the Taj Dubai. It's a Indian hotel in Dubai. That was a beautiful place too. And I had a nice room looking out over the Burj Khalifa. And again, you can see the construction crane there on that one building. And that's just a good feel of looking at the city of Dubai. So we had to say goodbye. This is the Emirates plane, the 777 coming home. You always have a few dollars left over. In this case, dirham. So what do you buy? We bought dates and cologne and jewelry in the airport, and prepared, if you remember, 13 and a half hours going over, 15 hours coming back. And it's always tougher coming home than going over on any vacation. But it didn't take that long, because we left there at 9:45 in the morning and we got there at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. But it took 15 hours to get there. So what's the latest on Abu Dhabi and Dubai? This is from the Wall Street Journal here in November. They've realized that COVID has kind of set them back. Real estate values are down. The tourism isn't as big. So they're kind of, on the Islam side, they're pulling back a little bit. So it used to be that they wouldn't allow cohabitation, but now they're allowing that. If there's divorce, they follow the rules of the home country of the people that are involved, and not of United Arab Emirates or of Dubai or Abu Dhabi, depending where it is. And then residents can drink alcohol without obtaining a license. So you can see how strict it was, and they're loosening that up. So this is from I read Barron's. So this was from last week's Barron's. You can't read it very well, but it talks about who's getting vaccinated because of COVID. Israel is leading the world. They're doing a great job over there, and their cases are way down. But the second leading country is United Arab Emirates at 91%. And you can see U.S. is down there at 54%. I think that's pretty close. But United Arab Emirates, they want to make sure that they get people back. And it's all tourism now. It used to be the oil trade, but now it's tourism for the most part that makes United Arab Emirates what it is today. So these are the people that helped me with this presentation. Marilyn Wirtz, Sandy Lawrence, they wrote a daily diary journal, and they let me use the journal because I couldn't remember everything and I didn't take real good notes. Marcia and Mel Jen, some of the photographs, and then the two ladies from the bank that helped me put this together. So what's coming up in United Arab Emirates? They touted this Dubai Expo 2020 for many years. And of course, 2020 was COVID, but they just pushed it off. So it's really a world's fair. It's going to be the place to go. And so sustainability, mobility, opportunity, those are the key words they're talking about. It'll be this coming fall into next year. And they'll have 192 nations participating. So you'll read more of that into the fall. And then in Qatar, which is right near there, if you're a soccer fan, every 4 years they have the World Cup, and in 2022, it'll be in Qatar, not too far away. So, as many of you know, my name is Reilly. I feel that I actually lived the life of Reilly when I was over there. For those people, remember William Bendix was the star in the show The Life of Reilly many years ago. When I was a little kid, I remember it. But it was quite the trip, and just great memories, and I'm just so happy that you invited me tonight to tell you a little bit about United Arab Emirates, and with that, I'll try to answer any questions you might have. Anything?
Where are you going next?
Well, that's a good question, because the Hills Bank has pulled back on trips, and so Star Destinations continues to travel, and they want to travel. And if you want to travel with the bank, you now go directly to Star Destinations in Carroll, Iowa. And so Barb and I have selected to go to Scotland and Northern Ireland in September. And it's the second trip. They have one in August and they have one in September, and the first one's sold out. And so we were able to get on the second one, and we hope that we can go, because international travel is still not fully approved. And so we hope by then it will be. But you buy the insurance, and if you don't go, you can use the insurance to, yeah. And Kathy would be very good about that too. She'll give you the money back, especially under these conditions. And so Star Destinations does have quite a itinerary of places. They're gonna start out with local trips. I think there's one to Indiana. There might be one down south, and then eventually work out into the international trips. So, yes.
In the United Kingdom, the VAT tax you could get back after you came home. Is that also true?
As I recall, yes, I really didn't buy enough to have much tax to pay or to get back, but I remember they passed out forms on the plane, yes. Yes. Yes.
What's the source of water to support all of this industry and tourism?
Yeah, they have wells over there, and that's where it primarily comes from. They do have a lot of, well, for the drinking water, there's a lot of bottled water, and they tell you to drink the bottled water, but you can drink, it comes from the ocean as well. They take the salt out of the water over there. But yes, there's a lot of water that way that they can use. But they need the water because they water every night to get those flowers to look like that. Yes. No. Okay. Okay.
I was wondering, the discrimination against women who can't drive, can't do anything without husbands, is that, did you feel anything about that?
In our situation, we really didn't. They didn't talk about that, so there might have been issues along those lines. But because so many of these people are expatriates from other countries, we saw guys, construction guys, they would get up and go to work at 7 o'clock in the morning, and we'd see them coming home at 7 o'clock at night. And so they don't make a lot of money, but what money they make, they send back home. And the conditions they live under aren't what you see here, but they're the ones that are building these monstrous buildings.
So did you have a feeling for the role of women kind of in that country?
Yeah, not really, not really.
Yeah, they were that invisible, huh?
Well, they worked in the stores, yeah. But they told us you don't really talk to the ladies. So that they look down upon that. We were at the Miracle Gardens, and I don't know if the two that I showed there, but I was in close proximity, and I was gonna say something to them, but if they don't have a face mask on, they don't look, there's no eye contact. So it's quite, and that, again, those are the natives. Yeah. But they don't have any expatriates that come in, it's all guys that come in,
I see.
yeah.
No, I wonder if, are the women allowed, or are they consciously not, you don't?
I don't know that, but I don't know if they're not allowed, but they would have to, in order to go there, you have to have a job.
Yeah.
And so that's the first thing, you have to find a job somehow to be able to get into the country.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I saw the ratio of U.S. citizens, male, female, and there's about 7.5 males to about 2.5 females. Now, is that because most U.S. citizens who are there are still single, or is it because there are more restrictions on women?
Yeah, that was just male, female, it wasn't necessarily United States citizens. It was just everybody that's over there. And so again, it's the people coming in are the males to do the work, and it just makes the male population so much higher. So it's not fair, but that's the way it is over there. And for them, it seems to work, but it depends what your definition is of working. Yeah. Good questions, thank you. Did I go over time?
I was gonna grab your gold.
Oh, yes, I brought some gold for you. So everybody gets at least one of this. So I'll put them on the table over there when you leave, you can grab one. So if you stick around later, there might be two. So I'll leave right off the bat. Thank you, David, for reminding me.
Thank you.
Thank you.